From TLDR News, this is Too Long Didn't Read. Hello and welcome back to Too Long Didn't Read. It's been a little while since we recorded a podcast, so we thought we ought to give it a go. In fact, we enjoyed recording it so much that this is our second attempt because we lost all the audio the first time round.
Yay.
Yep. Joining me again for the second time today and in every other episode is Zach.
Hello, guys.
And Ben.
Hello.
So, Ben, do you want to run us through what we're going to be talking about?
Yes, so...
As if we don't already know from the first time we recorded this.
This is going to be weird. It's going to be like a weird meta podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a podcast about our previous podcast. Go on.
Yeah, that no one's ever going to hear, but yes.
I know.
So, mainly about the Labour leadership election and some of the stuff that's happened over the last few days with that, mainly relating to Rebecca Long-Bailey. Just a little bit on HS2. There's not actually been a mass amount of news about that, but it's just something that I thought we could speak about. A commemorative Brexit coin, again. And Big Ben bong-ing for Brexit, which I still don't know the entire phrase of that, but apparently there is one.
Bung a bob for a Big Ben bong.
That's the one. I'll get you to nail that every time. And then some stuff about John Bercow.
The John Bercow section will be exclusive for our Patreon members in our special bonus section of the podcast called Even Longer Didn't Read.
Yeah, give us money so you can hear us talk about John Bercow.
So you can hear us talk. We know it's everyone's favourite topic, so we're going to carve it right off.
There's controversy about him.
So, there is controversy.
You're selling it well.
You need to know what we're talking about. If you do want to listen and you're a patron already, you can just head to the Patreon feed. If you're not a patron already, then you can sign up at TLDR News. No, at patreon.com/TLDR News. Cool. Yes. So let's get into it. First things first, then the Labour leadership race.
Yes, Labour leadership race. So there's been some news over the last few days that Rebecca Long-Bailey, who is a contender and one of the favourites of the Corbynites to win, has supposedly broken some of the leadership rules in the fact that she sent an email to her local constituency members. So she's from Salford, so her Salford constituency Labour Party members asking for their backing. Now, there's a rule within the Labour Party leadership election that you're not allowed to use lists of members to contact them and ask for support. And there's been some controversy in the sense that they think that Corbyn's team have been manipulating what the rules are to save her in the race, because supposedly her doing that is enough of an offence to remove her from the race. What's been said is that they've decided that it's party officials, including a union who back Long-Bailey, have decided that it is reasonable for candidates to contact local party members using the lists. So there's a bit of back and forth as to whether they're bending the rules specifically for her. I know I've already explained this to you once before today, so there you go. That's more for the listeners.
Thanks for the recap.
Yes. So, again, what are your opinions on this, you two?
This is such a natural conversation.
I don't know. I've got a vague inclination that you have strong opinions, Zach.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
I might have strong
think
opinions.
so. I don't know what they are, but
did I actually have strong opinions? I can't even remember.
On Long-Bailey generally you did, yeah.
Oh, I have opinions on Long-Bailey. I think she's rubbish. Yeah, Jack, I think she's appalling. I think she's useless. So I'm quite glad that so far it looks like Keir Starmer is ahead. But on the particular issue of her abusing the rules or rather whatever, the powers that be within the Labour Party manipulating the rules in her favour.
Yeah.
I think we all agree that it wasn't too grievous.
No.
An abuse of power, you know what I mean?
I think what happened, emailing some people who are in our own constituency anyway, I think will make almost no difference to the leadership race.
Exactly.
I think we all agreed that maybe it shouldn't have been such a strong rule anyway. I get that you probably don't want to be emailing everyone all the time, like free reign access to the Labour lists, but like her own local constituency, I don't feel like it's making a huge difference. But I think, as we discussed earlier, I think it's a bigger issue when you think about are they bending the rules? Are they changing the rules to her advantage? And if one of the other candidates had done it, would they have been kicked out of the race? And if that is the case, then that's obviously a far bigger issue.
So yeah, I think you're right, Jack. I think that the rules being consistent are the main issue here, because the actual rule in itself seems kind of ridiculous in the sense that it's almost intuitive that you should be able to ask your own constituency members to back you. Like, your own Labour constituency members would supposedly back you already. I mean, I'm sure that there's some that will and some that won't, but a lot of your backing you would expect to come from your own local constituency members. Because if you're chosen as their MP, if you've represented them, it's likely that they're going to want you as the leader of the party. So in that sense, it doesn't seem like what she's done is that bad. The bigger question that's got to be asked is, would the other Labour leadership contenders be let off for this as well? And I genuinely don't know whether they would or wouldn't have been. So I suppose that's the question that we've got to ask. And I mean, it's quite a crucial point at the minute for Labour. And I know that people say that all the time whenever there's a new leader. They said that about Corbyn. But considering the last election is the worst defeat for Labour, since the 1930s, 1920s, certainly even worse than the 1983 election, it's a big moment. It's a big decision as to who becomes leader. And if she then does become leader, I think, maybe in the future people are going to ask questions as to, about this issue in particular, or if issues like this continue, how legitimate that was, specifically if she doesn't do particularly well. So it seems like quite an important issue in the sense that of fair play, but not what's actually happened.
Yeah, well, that's that, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you want to speak about...
Can you speak about it more generally?
The race more generally. Ultimately, down at the moment, it's looking like it's between Keir Starmer and Rebecca Long-Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like most of the polling's putting Starmer out ahead, but in recent days, Long-Bailey has been picking up some steam, it does seem. Well, and as you say, there was one that put her ahead. But
that Labour list poll...
Yeah,
it was done by Labour list members, and they generally swayed Corbynite anyway.
Yeah.
So even they tried to wait for it, but you just think that particular demographic is going to vote Long-Bailey, whatever happens. But yeah, well, what should we talk about? What should we say about it?
What do you want to say?
What do I want to say?
Yeah,
I was going
to say about the fact that originally, I think Long-Bailey was doing very well early on in the race, and I would have expected her to do particularly well because it's very left-leaning. And then obviously Keir Starmer overtaking now. I want to give Zach a bit of credit for this point because he was the one I think who originally raised it earlier. But the fact that he's more of a centrist, and the fact that he at least presents himself as more as a centrist, him doing well is almost not what I would have expected from this race. I would have expected because the membership is obviously going to be more left-wing than the general public, and I would have expected the membership to have selected, or at least Long-Bailey to be the favourite currently. So I think that's just something that's almost unexpected so far. But the race isn't over yet, and maybe she'll bring it back.
Yeah, well, what I think we've seen is that the membership, for all the cliche about it, is not just ravagingly left-wing. It's quite specifically pro-Corbyn. And even though Long-Bailey is the Corbyn continuity candidate, she still can't garner the support that Corbyn did. And we talked about this earlier, but it's obviously because she doesn't have she might have the same policies as Corbyn, but Corbyn has a lot more going for him. He's been a politician for X many decades, and he's at least, when he first came to the fore in 2015 or 2016, he garnered a lot of momentum mainly because he'd been on the right side of history so many times. He was on the right side of the Iraq War, and he'd just been so sort of he had such a brilliant parliamentary record that he garnered that sort of momentum and forced that level of entryism into the Labour Party membership. And Long-Bailey doesn't seem to be able to quite capture the same crowds.
Yeah, I think, as you say, she inherently doesn't have that history. It's helped Corbyn. It seems to have helped Bernie over in the US too.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact that he's consistently been on what's perceived as the right side of history.
And that's what people want, a little bit of integrity in their politicians at the moment.
Exactly. And both of them seem able to do that, even though obviously Corbyn wasn't able to translate that into a victory in the whole country. He certainly did with a percentage of the Labour Party. So the question is, do those Labour voters who are choosing the new leader, do they back people based on the principles and the policies, or do they back someone based on who they think can actually win? Yeah. And I think that's where Starmer really starts to pick up some...
Yeah, and we were talking about this, about how electability is now... It definitely seems as if the Labour membership cares about electability. Yeah. We should mention, as we did last time, so sorry, Ben, keep trying, we'll get there, about the... there were reports of moderate entryism. Yeah. And some 50,000 people have joined the Labour membership. And the speculation is that it's to vote for Keir Starmer because it's a load of desperate centrists, trying to make sure the Labour Party doesn't collapse to the left.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, Ben, what were you trying to get in on?
Yeah, I was going to say that I think it's quite interesting that the pendulum sort of shifted again, because Corbyn, when you're talking about electability versus being particularly left wing in terms of the Labour Party, Corbyn was the first one who, we had the Blair era, the Brown era of electability, like they're just completely focused on winning elections.
Yeah.
Then obviously Miliband, not particularly going that far either way, and then you have Corbyn, who comes in, who's and the pendulum changes and it goes completely the other way. Shifts, it goes completely the other way, in the sense it's very left wing, trying to represent. And now Corbyn's done that. He's run 2 elections and lost the last one,
He lost both of them
by quite a significant margin. And it seems like that pendulum is shifting again, in the sense that people are looking for electability again. Maybe through Keir Starmer. So I think that's an interesting thing to look at, because you had Corbyn come in, and there's certainly conversations about where the Labour Party's heading, and maybe it's heading in a different direction again. But it's something to keep an eye on, and it all depends on who wins this leadership election. I think it's definitely too soon to say whether the Labour Party's changing one way or remaining as it is, but it's certainly the first, we're in the beginnings of some sort of indication as to where it's going.
And I think it's understandable when you look at the membership's perspective, even if they are more left of where Starmer is. By the time we're at the next election, likely it'll be about 14 years since Labour were last in government. So it's understandable that they're looking for someone who can actually get them the power they want to push through some of these policies. And even if Starmer wouldn't go as far as they'd hope him to, at least it's a Labour leader, at least it's progress in the direction they want, versus someone like Johnson. And equally, as Zach, you were saying earlier, there's a perspective of the fact that Starmer is still fairly left-wing.
Yeah, and he's pitching himself as perhaps more left-wing than people thought he would.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and the last thing on that is also the Labour membership is unequivocally pro-Remain. And Starmer has been almost solely responsible for shifting Labour Party policy from sort of ambiguity to second referendum. So he has got some capital to cash in on there with the membership. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So that's the Labour leadership election and the news that's been going on recently anyway.
You need to know about the Labour leadership election.
Absolutely nothing else. And we'll keep you updated as that plays out, obviously.
Don't listen to anyone else.
So something a little bit more, it's just to kind of change the direction here. So HS2, apparently, I think it was on Andrew Marr the other day that Stephen Barclay, the Brexit secretary, said, and I quote here, he had a gut feeling that HS2 would be approved. So I just found it very strange that he used the phrase gut feeling. But anyway, so Zach, do you want to sort of go over
this is kind of funny
HS2 for anybody listening? I attempted it last time. I'll give Zach a go.
No. It's a shame we don't have that recording, because obviously last time we had a meeting of minds, let's say. We disagreed. Ben thinks that HS2 is spiraling out of control, which is probably true, and that the costs are just too great to justify it. I think that HS2 is a sort of necessity. Should I do a very quick rundown?
Last time I joked that you had 5 minutes to cover it. This time you've got 5 minutes to cover this.
5 minutes to cover this.
Both
awesome.
of you.
Okay, well, we'll just go through the numbers. So HS2, when it was first sort of proposed in about 2011, 2012, original budget was 32 billion. 2013, it went up to something like 42 billion. 2014, it was 50 billion. By 2015, it was about 56, 57 billion. This was sort of what the settled figure was. And then quite recently, so last year in 2019, there was a sort of independent report that said that it would cost... Oh no, it wasn't an independent report. It was the head of HS2 Limited at the time said it would realistically cost more like 81 to 88 billion, which is obviously quite a lot more than the 57 billion. And then the government, so the Department for Transport, did its own review and came up with the figure 65 to 88 billion. So somewhere in that ballpark. And then the numbers have got even worse. So this year, Johnson, as part of his sort of one of the things he promised to do in his leadership campaign, was to do a review of HS2. And some of the details of the review have been leaked, I think, to Sunday Times. And they said that there was, quote unquote, a considerable risk that the price would spiral up to in excess of 100 billion. So it's something like 106, 107 billion, 106, which is, that's serious moolah. And also, obviously, the time frame has shifted. So It's separated into 2 phases. The first phase, called rather creatively.
Can I just interject
go
here?
on.
Could we just explain to people what HS2 is for people who are?
Oh yeah, okay. So HS2 is obviously a train line. That's the most basic explanation. But the reason we need HS2, or well, I shouldn't say that. The reason that that the best argument for HS2 is that at the moment most of the UK's main train lines were built in the Victorian era, and they currently carry both our express trains and our commuter trains. Obviously, commuter trains stop more regularly and are slower than express trains. But if they're all on the same line, you obviously have a limit on how many express trains you can fit in between those commuter trains. And that also slows down the flow of commuter trains, because you have to leave a very big gap between commuter train A and commuter train B to fit the express train C in between them, to give it enough time to do its journey quickly. So what you'd do be having an HS2, which by the way has a top speed capacity of 400 kilometers per hour, which would be the fastest in Europe, essentially. There's some Italian trains to similar speeds. You would have a separate line running not quite parallel, but near to stuff like the West Coast Main Line, which carry these express and commuter trains. And the HS2 could basically take the express trains, really freeing up far more capacity for commuter trains on the old rails, and also massively cutting the time for these express trains, because firstly they were running on older Victorian rails previously, and also they'd often have to slow down to make way for commuter trains. That's the thinking behind HS2. Obviously it's very, very expensive, and it's getting more expensive, and it won't be done until, so phase 1 is HS2. It goes between London and Birmingham, and that won't be completed until 2033, and it was originally planned to be completed by 2026. Phase 2 goes from Birmingham to Leeds and Birmingham to Manchester in a sort of Y shape. So it goes London up to Birmingham, then splits off. And phase 2 won't be completed by probably 2040. So a long way in the future. And that's 80 billion quid, then 90 billion quid, the whole budget for HS2. That will be spent over, how many years? 2 decades essentially?
Yeah.
So it's a small amount of money when you look at it in those terms. But nonetheless, it is a huge amount of money. Anyway, that's the thinking behind HS2. It really has been explained very poorly. Most people think that HS2 is predominantly about making super quick business journeys between Birmingham and London, which is just not really the point. The essential point is to free up capacity, and the fact that it means that we have some super fast trains between those two places is sort of a happy byproduct. It's not the main focus.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking. Yeah, go on, Ben.
Yeah, and obviously for people like me, it just seems, it's hard to disagree with the reasoning behind it. It's hard to disagree with, obviously, an upgrade for infrastructure, freeing up capacity, reducing travel time, everything else, better connectivity, everything else. No one can disagree with that they're positive things and they're good things. The concerns that people have, and the concerns that I have, is just the sheer spiraling of costs.
Yeah.
And if you want to just quickly explain,
that's the 5 minutes
how
up.
the
Sorry,
costs...
that's the 5 minutes.
Oh, we've set an alarm.
Yeah, I said
give him a little bit longer. It's going
Zach
well.
took off about 4 minutes and a half of that time, so keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Well, no, I was actually just going to ask Zach to explain just one more thing, because he did it quite well, which was to do with exactly how the costs have spiraled. Because as I say, the concern that I have is just the sheer spiralling of the cost, and the fact that we're in excess of 100 billion. I understand that's over a number of years and up until 2040, but it's still a phenomenal increase and a phenomenal amount of money, and that's the concern that I have. Obviously, Zach, you can explain how those have arisen.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So basically, some of the cost spiraling has been down to bad estimates, but a lot of the cost spiraling was because HS2 Limited, which is the company that's in charge of all of this HS2 stuff, contracted out the work to a load of different people, and in an attempt to prevent or discourage contractors from promising stuff that they couldn't deliver on, HS2 said that any cost that's above the stated cost that the contractor gives, the contractor would have to pay 60% of. So if the contractor said, we can do this for this much money, give us this money and we'll do it, and then said, actually, we need more money, HS2 could go like, fine, you can have a bit more money, but you've got to pay some of that yourself. So that was to discourage them from doing what other big contracting firms like Carillon and places have done, where they say to the government, "Oh, we can do this for nothing." The government gives them the contract, and then they go, "Oh, we need a bit more money," and the government's forced to bail them out.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, what this has the effect of doing is it meant that all of these contractors ended up coming up with really conservative plans that stood no chance of costing any more than the state aims. And obviously, zero risk means a higher cost. Anything that's where risk is mitigated to an extreme means a higher cost. And so they all came back with higher figures than HS2 Limited expected, and that's responsible for most of the greater increased costs. There was a House of Lords report that came out in May 2019 which suggested, I think it was a House of Lords report, someone could double check this, but maybe it was a National Audit Office, one of the two, that suggested completely scrapping this way of doing contracts and essentially just offering normal contracts. And people who offer a slightly higher risk thing, they're high risk for a reason, but they're also cheaper.
So it's the contracts that have caused
the particular
such an increase.
Format of contract that has caused the increase, or is responsible for a large part of it. But so that's what HS2 is. I'm pretty pro HS2, but
Yes. I'm concerned that Jack's probably sat there looking at his clock with an angry face.
Furious.
I can't see
Jack,
him.
he's had enough.
So I am concerned that we should probably move on. But that's in a nutshell HS2. There's not been a huge amount of news recently. I just thought it was a good time. We haven't spoken about HS2 before, and it's quite an interesting thing to discuss.
There has been quite a bit
Obviously,
on it,
me and
recently.
Zach take different views on it, but
There've been the occasional
that was a
article.
whistle-stop tour.
You know what I mean? There was an article in the Guardian today yesterday that said it would cost 13 billion if they tried to stop it.
Yeah.
You see that? As in, 13 billion has already been spent. But so that's the lowdown on HS2. I don't really know what more we can say. I mean, we could get into a whole for and against argument like we did last time, but I think we might take up too much time.
Yeah,
Jack has his timer out, so
Yeah, let's move on to the next topic.
Okay, next topic. So something a bit lighter and not as detail heavy. The commemorative 50p coin.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Go on, give everyone your facts.
A commemorative 50p coin has been made to mark the exit of the UK from the EU. It has peace, prosperity and friendship with all nations written on it, alongside the date of the 31st of January, which is the date we're meant to leave. Apparently, around 3 million of these coins will enter circulation at the end of this week. And the two most, slightly strange bits of information that I found out from this was Mr. Javid, or as he's known, Master of the Mint, which I just think is brilliant, was given the first batch of these 50p's and will present one to Boris Johnson later this week, which I still, if he's got them, I don't understand why he's waiting till the end of the week to give him that. I have no idea.
Nah, you've missed it.
Oh, shit.
So, and then also as part of this, the doors of the Royal Mint in South Wales will open its doors for 24 hours on the 31st of January to let people, and I quote here, strike their own commemorative Brexit coins. It's unclear to me whether you get to keep the coins afterwards or whether they just go straight into circulation, but I'd be slightly annoyed if you don't get to
Surely you do. It would be really weird
You'd
if you
hope,
didn't.
wouldn't you?
Do you want to put out your plea again,
Yeah.
Ben? Do you want to ask the world?
Yeah, so I just want to know if anyone has any more info on this, or if anybody works there or anything like that. Do you get to keep the coins? Do you have to pay 50p to have it? Is there a cost to go and strike your own coins?
I still don't know why you aren't Googling this.
Yeah,
I feel like it can't be that hard to
Can't be
find
that
out.
unless you just you really want a free trip down to the Royal Mint or whatever.
Look,
If they're inviting us, we'll go and make a video.
Happily, yeah.
I don't think that
But
happens.
I'm more interested in the stuff that I won't find out. If anyone knows anything about this that is not on Google, I'd like to know, because I'm interested in this, and
I saw a little thing on it.
I find this all
I forgot
fascinating.
to mention it last time, but what's the slogan on the coin again?
Peace, prosperity, and friendship with all nations.
So it is. Well, this is a super boring point. I don't even know why I brought it up, but it's missing it. Was not missing a comma. Depends on what your take is. You know what the Oxford comma is? You saw this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people think there should be a comma after prosperity.
Peace,
yeah, well, that gets into an
prosperity,
age-old debate, doesn't it?
Instead of peace, prosperity, and friendship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
Anyway, yeah.
I don't think that's that boring. I think that is interesting.
That's our sort of audience,
Wow,
actually.
okay.
Yeah,
You
they'll love
nerdy
that.
kids out there, you love it.
Yeah,
This has turned
I
into real
like
sort
that.
of dirty
That's good.
talk. One of those chat room things. Pay 50p a minute.
but
to
you're
hear me
Master of the
talk
Mint as
dirty
well.
Mint talk to you.
Sorry, Ben.
Yeah, Master of the.
Once Ben is trying to keep
you
us
cut
on
out there,
schedule.
but
I cut out there. Did I cut out for you, Jack?
No.
Good. We're keeping that in. Go on.
Okay, so Master of the Mint. I don't know. I never knew that he had that title.
I know.
But I like
I'll
that.
just take some credit. Last time, I made a very good joke.
You can't call back a joke no one heard.
Yeah.
Go on.
No one can. You can't prove that.
Yeah, no, but I did make it, so just leave me alone. You know what? It's not even worth it. I called Boris Johnson the master of the coriander, and they laughed. Everyone laughed. Everyone found it funny. It was a good joke.
The whole of London was laughing. The streets.
Everyone. I heard someone outside.
You should have said Colonel of Coriander, or like changed it to be alliterative.
Should we
like
cut
Master
this
of the
out
Mint.
and we can just pretend I said that?
Yeah, you can do.
No.
Just in my voice.
I won't. I'll either leave all of this
leave
in,
it in.
or I'll
This
cut
is
it
all
deliberately
going in. This has
badly.
to all
Leave
stay.
it all in.
You're a big fan of the cutting. By the way, everyone, if Ben sounds smarter than average on these podcasts, it's not because he is. It's because he cuts everything quite conveniently for himself. Whenever we're talking, he keeps on going, should I cut this bit? Should I cut that bit? Sometimes someone makes a good point and he just repeats it afterwards, and we know it's because he's about to cut out the first bit.
I'd like to. Yeah, that's going, and this is staying in. I've never cut anything to make myself sound smarter.
That makes no sense if you cut out Zach's accusation.
No. The accusation, the first accusation remains. The second accusation of me cutting other people's points out and then repeating
We're
them.
just going to have him doing the HS2 bit next
We're going to
time,
have
aren't
two
we?
rival versions of the podcast
Yeah,
releasing
exactly.
two different truths of what happened.
I'll just leave my side of the HS2 debate.
Yeah, I
in.
love that.
Exactly.
Cool. So basically, we want to go a mint of 50p, and a lot of money's been spent on a load of 50p's. If you're into that, well, good for you, I guess. I don't know if
Quite
anyone really
dismissive.
is.
That wasn't very subtle.
Leave me a comment. on the
Honestly,
YouTube
though,
version.
who cares about a special 50p? Who carries around a load of coins and like looks at what they say on
Quite a
the
lot
name?
of people into that
I
sort
was
of thing.
literally just looking on the Royal Mint's website at all the different designs of £2 coins. I have never seen 80% of them. There's a
Really?
new coin they put out, like the default new coin since 2006 for £2. I have never seen it
Can I
before.
see it? Oh, watch out for the cord though.
That gal.
Oh, I have
I've
never seen
seen that before. And there's like 20 million of them in not that many, sorry. But there's like millions of them in circulation. And that's like the default coin. And yet, this is the only one I've ever seen, pretty much. That one there. That's
That's
like,
the one I see
that
the
is the
whole
coin.
time, yeah.
But also, I don't know the last time I saw a £2 coin. Like,
Oh, technology, man.
I don't handle much
Fucking
coinage.
hell. I don't handle much coinage.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't care if you want to get
You make up
excited
a
about...
word there, coinage.
Coinage is a term, isn't it?
Is it? Is
I
it
think
coinage
so,
a
yeah.
word? I thought you just put udge on the end of something.
Coinage.
Jack, I don't handle much coinage, Kenny.
Yeah, coins collectively. The volume of coinage in
Okay.
circulation.
Okay, well, now I look like an idiot. But
Leave
well
that in.
done.
Absolutely leave that in. But yeah, my point basically is...
I
if
know
you
a lot about HS2 though, so don't
You
have
do,
a go.
you do.
There we go.
My point basically is if you care about this, then good for you. You got a nice coin. Add it to your collection. But we've...
And you can go
I
strike
think you're
your
just
own if
jealous
you're
about
really
your lack
into
of
it.
coinage, Jack. I think
Maybe I
that's the
just
issue.
want more coins. Anyway,
let's move on.
I've got
from
nothing
this.
else to say about
I
a Brexit
don't know
coin.
how we really spent a fucking long time talking about that on the last
The
podcast.
first time around we did, yeah.
Jeez, I'm quite glad we didn't.
Yeah.
Frankly, Ben, you spent quite a long time talking about it.
You got very
You
excited.
spent a lot of time talking about HS2.
We're planning
We're
trips to
That's
South
not
Wales.
the same thing. Coinage is not the same as HS2. There's only so much you can say about coinage.
Okay, moving on. Big Bang.
Bunging a bob for the Big Ben bong.
You've
Yes,
got that pinned
what
down.
Jack
I'm gonna
said.
try.
There's literally not much to say about this other than it's not happening.
No, Big Ben won't be bonging. Partly because £500,000 is an insane amount of money to spend on a bell ringing. Partly because, and that's not political, that's just a statement. Partly because the GoFundMe they set up didn't raise enough money. Partly because...
And even if they did,
partly because the Conservatives immediately distanced themselves from it immediately after the GoFundMe was started. And also because the people who are actually in charge of the bell, the House of Commons Commission, said they wouldn't make it ring anyway. So, I mean...
Only a couple of holes in that plan then.
There are a few issues with it.
Yeah.
I think my attitude to this is pretty similar towards the coin.
You
Like
just couldn't care.
if you
less.
want to, if it makes you happy, I guess. But really, the government shouldn't be spending $500,000 on a bell ringing.
Although
Especially
we did
as
say...
we've got some high quality recordings of it anyway. They're just going to play it through a speaker. Will anyone really be able to tell the difference? £500,000 is a lot of money for a bell ring. For 11 rings.
but
You
the
could
public
get a little
funded
bit
it,
of
Jack.
HS2 done.
You could do get a little bit. Yeah, and you're right. Like we discussed this earlier, the whole Rees-Mogg point of like, if people want to pay for it, let them pay for it. And when it's like more frivolous stuff like that, yeah, sure, I guess.
We thought it was quite an interesting. We think the government should crowdfund more stuff.
No, we don't. That was the opposite of our statement.
No.
We were saying it'd be quite entertaining. That was what the previous take on it was, to have all the government ministers with what's the word?
Like charity telethons,
Yeah, exactly.
raising money
Lining
for
up. I can say this fluently this time. Matt Hancock.
Yeah.
Begging for money for the NHS.
And as we said earlier, there is sort of a dystopia. It would be quite an interesting dystopian idea where there's like no government and that everything is just crowdfunded.
True. You see what people really care about.
Would that be sort of
exactly.
libertarian?
Yeah.
Well, like
See if
weird,
people
pure
put money.
libertarianism?
What people put money towards.
No, it's just chaos.
Weird nonsense.
Because most people wouldn't put any money in, and then it would be like a disaster. Yeah. Do we have anything really on to say about that? We were talking about maybe we go down and watch the Bong
podcast.
Oh yeah. You wanted to see if you could get tickets
for Nigel's party.
Yeah. Is it a ticketed
No, I don't
event?
think so.
Did you find that
It
out?
does- didn't look
turns up
ticketed.
Parliament Square. So if people who don't know, Nigel I think it's actually Leave Means Leave have organised it.
Yeah, but
Leave Means Leave have organised a sort of like leaving the EU party. So in Parliament Square in London, I think it begins at 9:30 in the evening. I think we leave technically at 11 o'clock
11,
at night.
yeah.
So
Got a bit of build up.
I know. Well, it's loads of speakers and stuff. But they've organised this party in Parliament Square, and I think it turns out that a lot more people have expressed an interest in their thoughts. There's going to be, maybe thousands and thousands of people on Parliament Square, which is
not
a very big
completely
square.
surprising.
No, neither am I.
Surprised, I mean.
Of course, you're like, how could you underestimate how many people are going to turn up for this? Like, Brexit garners a bit of attention, whatever happens.
Yeah. People will go. We might go.
We might go.
Yeah. Are you going to bring your guitar along, Zach? Offer to do some of the build
That'd
up.
be quite cute, actually. Me and Jonathan Bartley could turn up,
Yeah.
play like a protest song.
Form the band you were talking about.
That'd be quite cute. I'm now tempted to.
Drop him a
It'd be
tweet.
completely different video, though, wouldn't it?
I somehow think he might not go along and play at what was it? Vote Leave party.
Yeah. I don't think they'd be allowed on stage either, let's be honest. There's multiple issues with this band. But the long and short of it is Big Ben won't be bonging. No one spent any money on it. We're leaving on Friday, which is crazy. That's so soon.
Yeah.
But it's happening.
It's but it isn't. Do you feel quite? I feel like psychologically, it's fallen in by now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's going to happen.
No, exactly. It's
And
sort of disappointing in a way, isn't it?
I don't think I'll feel anything on Friday either way.
No.
It'll be interesting when it actually does happen, like when it's like Johnson there speaking. I don't know if like that will cause any emotions in the country, but like I feel like I won't really. We've known this has been coming for so long now.
The general election was really the point. You know what I mean? The turning point.
So I don't feel like it's not that big a deal. Maybe the end of the year will be a bigger deal, depending on like if we get a deal with the EU or not.
Maybe because we care about this sort of thing. But I think for the general public, it's not going to be a very interesting point. No one's going to be paying attention to the ins and outs of that trade deal thing.
True. Well, let's hope they are for the channel.
Yeah. I mean, everyone is. Come on, guys, share it and comment, and subscribe, all that shenanigans. That
Anything
was
else on this one,
measly
Ben?
plug from me.
Yeah, I loved it. It was good.
No, I was just going to say that it's not happening, but I think you've hit the nail on the head quite
forcefully.
definitively.
We've done this very succinctly.
Yeah.
This is a speedy podcast. Do you think this is better or
so
worse than the last one?
we're moving on to the Patreon only
It's less
stuff.
fun than the last one.
It's definitely less fun than the last one. We're all a little bit tired.
So for regular viewers, thanks for listening. That's the end of the podcast.
Is that really the end of the podcast?
That's the end of the
No,
podcast.
let's
It
give them a little
absolutely
bit more.
dies.
No, there has
what
to
we
be
giving
something
them?
more. What should we talk about? Because that can't be. We can't be offering this.
We're like 35
Not
minutes.
commercially. This is shocking.
We got through a lot of stuff. There was a lot of content there.
Yeah, we did it almost too quick. It's because none of us wanted to say the same things again because I'm bored of hearing it and saying.
Yeah, it's fucking boring hearing the same shit you've already said. It really is quite dull. We're keeping all of this in here as well, definitely.
No, I've got nothing else to say to the regular viewers.
Can we
Thanks
just say
for coming
to
back.
all you regular viewers, we really love you guys. Drop us a 5-star on iTunes. I'm really proud
wow,
of us.
I like that.
We have 5 stars
yeah,
on
really?
iTunes. Apparently it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does make a big
We
difference.
have 5 stars on iTunes and all the other great podcasts I listen to. I don't think even Joe Rogan has 5 stars.
Yeah, he's got a lot more ratings than we do.
True,
Probably. It's probably harder.
true.
Yeah, I was going to
Fair
say,
play
when
to
you've got
Joe.
so many ratings, they're not all going to be
Well,
5s, are
yeah,
they?
but we've got
Whereas-
some not 5. I mean, we've got a 5.0 average is the point. And we have something like, I think, 60 or 70 ratings.
Huh.
I shouldn't be
I mean,
kidding.
if we were going to beg for reviews, it'd probably been better to do it up front. We're like 40 minutes deep now and no one's listening.
No,
But-
but people have listened this far, they like it, Jack.
because that's true as well.
yeah,
It's a
I like the
self-selection
selection
thing,
bias. Yeah.
But also you want to give, if we advertise at the start and they haven't listened to anything, that's a bit like,
True.
you know what I mean? That's a bit TLDR. That's a bit sort of our classic.
Before we start.
Yeah, promo before you've seen anything. you
Yeah.
little bitch. But yeah,
So instead of ending it there, you've decided to give them more promo instead. That's what
Yeah.
you treated them to.
okay.
The one thing we don't do enough
I'm really
of.
sorry, guys. I don't know what to do now. I feel bad.
Okay.
I think we should end quickly.
Yeah, I think
is
we
what
should.
I
We
think.
should cut this off now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Monday.
See you later.
For more from TLDR News, you can check out the full version of this podcast in Even Longer Didn't Read, our Patreon exclusive bonus clips, where we share even more of our conversation, including our upcoming talks about
John Burko.
John Burko.
That's the one.
That's the one. So if you want that, head over to patreon.com/TLDR News to check out the full episode.